So this is your first time using Mortafil. I want to be able to show you some tips and tricks, how to use the product, and a typical example of where to use the product. So I'm going to go and run through some basics. First, it's best to grab your tube and give it a good tap on something solid so that the product won't flow out of the tube when you're opening it. Grab your Stanley knife, nice sharp blade, and then open the tube. Then grab your nozzle. It's recommended to cut your nozzle at least an inch down on a 45-degree angle. So cut that. Put your nozzle on top of your tube. Grab your corking gun. Set it into your corking gun. Gently pull the trigger until you see the product coming out the top. Don't over pump, you don't want it flowing out. Once you've done that, I recommend to grab a spare nozzle and put that over the top before you're ready to start your job. A couple of basic tools that you will need to start your job is recommended to always keep a little bucket of water, a small paintbrush, a cloth in case you make any mess. I'm going to show you a typical example here. We have a gap that you might find around your house where you might have some petrified mortar that's all crumbled away, or you might just have a gap that wasn't filled by the brickies to start with. So it's best to grab your tube, point your tube, your nozzle, into the gap where you need it to be filled. Gently pull the trigger and start applying the Mortafil into the gap. Now this gap is a little bit larger, which is a good example because this one here will need to fill twice. So gently moving your gun along. As you can see here, it's a little bit larger, so we'll slowly add a little bit more just to build up a bedding at the back so we have a good foundation for our second coat. As I said earlier, it's best to put a nozzle over the top of your other nozzle just to stop the product flowing out. So now that you've applied your first coat of Mortafil to the gap, it's good to grab your finger, or you can use a paintbrush. To start with this, I would like to use my finger and just gently push the Mortafil into the gap. Don't scrape too much out, just gently feed it into the gap. I'm applying absolutely no pressure, just using my finger to do the job. At the end here, where it was a bit larger, I'll just gently push it back so I have a nice bed for the next coat. Clean your finger with your rag, so you're always keeping a clean area. Basically now, you're ready to leave that to dry for 1 hour, and then you can apply your second coat, which will then be your finished coat. It's recommended to do this in stages so that it's not going to sag, sink, or fall out of the brick. It generally won't. Depending on the size of the gap, it's best to do it in 2, sometimes 3 stages. If you have a smaller gap, you can do it in 1 coat. It's very easy. Just don't scrape too much out. So here I've got just another example. We've just got a brick that basically has an imperfection in it. So this was previously a crack. You might have a couple around the house where it has cracked and it's just an unsightly look. You've got bugs crawling in there, whatever. So I'm going to show you a real simple, easy way to fix something like that and blend it into your brick. So we have 8 different colors here at Mortafil. So generally you'll find that all of our colors will match the color of your brick. So here it's very similar to what we did previously with the horizontal gap. We're just going to apply our nozzle to the surface and gently run the gun down the gap. This time here, it doesn't matter if it's protruding a little bit. It's not going to be an issue. So here you want to just put it on the surface so it's protruding from the surface. It doesn't matter how you apply it to the brick here. If it's sticking out, that's fine, because you want to end up with a clean, neat, flush surface. So here I recommend to grab a filling blade, something nice, flat, sharp, and definitely clean. Grab your blade and just gently run it over the Mortafil, taking off the excess, and basically that's it. If you have a little bit of excess on the bricks, on the brick face, you can grab a rag and just gently wipe it off. but our products will blend in to the average coloured brick. Just quickly want to show you one more example. Here we've got some cinder blocks, so basically our products work superbly on masonry. So here we've got another example of a large gap that you could find around your house. So this one here particularly will need to be finished in 2 coats. So it's very similar to the first example, but I just want to show you the ease and how neatly it can be used if you don't overpump the product. So here it's exactly the same thing. I'm going to use a different colour to show you that it doesn't need to be a messy job. So take your tube, same thing, put it into the gap, gently feed the product in, allowing it to build up a good foundation for your next coat. Same thing, finger on the top of the tube, nozzle on the top, can't stress that enough. I'm going to show you with the paintbrush now. We'll grab the paintbrush, make sure it's damp, not wet. Gently run the paintbrush over the product. Make sure you've got a good foundation and everything's nice and ready for the second coat. And that's basically it for that. So I showed a previous example here. So this brick needed exactly the same thing. So I've allowed 2 coats. This one's obviously grey, so it shows how well the grey matches to the cinder block in this example. So that is just a perfectly grooved mortar joint. And also here on the other side, I've shown with a different colour how clean it can be and how neat the finish can be. If by chance you end up spilling the product and it goes everywhere, and it can, I recommend to grab a little bit of acetone on a cloth or a stiff brush and just give it a good clean. I'll give you a brief example. So here I have some acetone, a rag. I want to just show you how easy it is to remove the product. So don't think it's going to be the end of the world if it lands on something valuable. Grab your damp acetone. I recommend to use gloves. Apply it to the Mortafil. Give it a good scrub. Let it sit for a couple of minutes and the Mortafil will just scrape off. You'll have a little bit of residue left. Same thing, get your cloth. The acetone will not affect the masonry. Generally, if you drop it on something like a timber floor or something like that, you would have to be careful. I recommend to put a drop sheet down. And there you have a perfectly clean surface that isn't damaged and the acetone won't affect the area. Now I'm going to answer some commonly asked questions that I've got from you guys. So one of the main questions we get is, does the surface need to be dry? The answer is yes. The surface and area needs to be 100% free of water. If there's water behind Mortafil, it won't give it a chance to dry and it will push the product out. So it's imperative that there's no rain or any underlying water behind where you're going to fill. So another commonly asked question is, what surfaces can the product be used on? It can be used on a multitude of different surfaces. Examples around pool areas that are dry to start with before you fill it. Pizza ovens, so it can be used on high heat areas, used to build pizza ovens, used to brush on even and form the inside layer of the pizza oven. It does withstand high heat. It can be used for your small tiling jobs. So if you've got a broken tile, it can be used as an adhesive and also as a grout replacement. It can be used around fish ponds. It's a non-toxic product, so it doesn't affect our fishy friends. Another place it can be used is inside your house where you've got some cornice cracks. If you've got some of those ugly cornice cracks between your bricks and your actual cornice, it's good. You can scrape out that area and you can apply some Mortafil to add some strength because it's flexible as well. It does help before then you put some top coat on ready for painting, which is another area it can be used. Also it can be used on your roof, on some ridge capping. If you've got some ridge capping that's damaged, it can be used on areas like that. So it doesn't fade in the sun, so it's got some real good UV properties and some good flexibility. So if you're looking to purchase Mortafil, our main supplier is Bunnings. You'll be able to find it in the trade section there. We sell 8 different colours. Also we sell now in buckets. We have a 3 kilo, a 7 kilo and a 14 kilo option in any of the colors. So if you're looking to grab a larger amount, you can contact us through our website or call me through my mobile and I'll be able to help you out.